Hello, everyone, and welcome to Transforming Finance in Growth-Focused Companies, a discussion with Katie Evans, Research Director, Worldwide Small and Medium Business Research at IDC. I'm your host, Timo Elliott, and I'm an Innovation Evangelist for SAP. Today, we're going to explore the role of finance leaders in fast-growing companies and how they're re-envisaging the finance function to support company strategy, new processes, and new business models. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you so much, Timo. It's great to be here.
So, Katie, you recently conducted a global study on behalf of SAP, which looked at the ways in which some growth-focused companies have been able to thrive even during the last few years of challenges. What did the research reveal about the role of the finance leaders in those companies?
Well, Timo, it's clear that the finance leaders are instrumental in driving a mid-sized company's growth strategy. In fact, they're just slightly behind corporate executive officer in saying that they are one of the primary decision makers responsible for setting growth strategies. So this truly illustrates how critical the finance office is to long-term strategic planning.
Completely agree. Finance leaders clearly play a huge role for mid-sized companies looking to grow. Over time, there has to be a big mindset change from, first, accounting is a mandatory function for compliance, but ability to move to finance is an essential part of our growth strategy. And growth is expensive. There's a lot to pay for. New products and services, distribution, staff, and 100 other investments. Mid-sized companies look to finance to provide the insights they need to navigate the choppy seas of today's economics environments, to avoid unprofitable choices and failed execution, and steer them towards long-term profitability. And to do all that, they need the tools and processes and people to build and maintain a single, up-to-date, unimpeachable source of financial truth to tell them where they are, where they've been, and where they're going. Katie, what are the top business objectives from the survey?
Well, Timo, the research clearly illustrates that finance leaders are focusing on the customer. So the top growth strategies include attracting customers, increasing market share, and improving the employee experience. So these leaders today are seeing that more digitally savvy consumers, which was spurred by COVID, when consumers were forced to interact online with brands and businesses rather than going to an office or a store, they're now more willing to shop around and experiment with new brands that they might find online. In short, they're a little bit less loyal and they're more comfortable doing business with new brands. So therefore, finance leaders are looking to cast this wider net and attract more customers. And they're also investing in the customer experience to keep the customers that they have happy so that they're less likely to stray. And all of those you can see come before grow revenue, because the finance leaders that we polled know that focusing on the customer is going to eventually lead to that increased revenue, which they're all aiming for.
Absolutely. Ultimately, revenue is obviously the result of paying attention to the rest of the business, new customers, increasing productivity, finding new business opportunities, and making sure the organization has the right business model. One thing, I'm a little disappointed that finance isn't quite as concerned about sustainability as the rest of the business. And I say that because there's a raft of new legislation around the world, and we're actually seeing that finance leaders in particular are now right at the center of sustainability and ESG initiatives, so environmental, social, and governance. They have an increasingly essential role in helping analyze all that non-financial data, such as carbon footprints, partly because it's all about governance and compliance now, but also because it requires a lot of the same accounting techniques and expertise as complex financial allocations. And perhaps even more importantly, finance can help make ESG information actionable, not just compliance reporting, but using that data to make better, more sustainable, and more profitable decisions in the future, such as the choice of input products or the techniques used or the supplier. So let's go back to the big picture. What are the kinds of macroeconomic challenges that the respondents say that they are most concerned about?
Well, as you can see here, global pandemics, inflation and interest rate hikes, and supply chain disruptions ranked as top concerns. And finance rankings were actually similar to overall. But I echo your thoughts on the need for mid-sized finance leaders to prioritize sustainability. In fact, we found that sustainability, such as investing in renewables or sourcing more locally, can actually lead to less reliance on volatile supply chains, which finance leaders listed as a top concern. And it can also provide cost savings to combat inflation, which was also listed as a challenge here. So sustainability can cut down on things like energy use and material costs. And some governments are even offering tax breaks or grants or subsidized loans for eco-friendly businesses.
It's good to see in the charts that finance is pretty much in sync with the rest of the business. Pandemic, thankfully, is now ebbing in most of the world. Inflation is still stubbornly high in many regions. Various types of supply chain disruptions are still very much in the news. We're seeing that there's a lot of business uncertainty out there. I'm personally seeing a lot of interest in scenario modeling, for example. Organizations want to be able to reevaluate their situation quickly as things change. And the good news is that it's easier than ever to do that with the cloud and new predictive technologies and AI. But of course, to be useful, you have to be able to trust the underlying information that you're using to build those models. Having a single source of financial truth is now even more essential than ever. We're also seeing that anything to do with trade and compliance is a very hot topic if your organization covers international markets. The rules are constantly changing, and again, it's an area where technology can help, keeping track of updates to the rules for you. For example, we have at SAP, we have international trade management in SAP S/4HANA. So, Katie, what have organizations been working on over the last few years?
Well, we found that some of the strategies finance teams implemented over the last few years, and more so that they'll be continuing to invest in, include employee safety protocols, digital transformation, and employee efficiency and education. So it seems these finance leaders will continue, at least somewhat, with the health and safety protocols implemented during the pandemic to avoid future disruptions. Digital transformation with technologies such as automation can boost employee efficiency and retain employees by reducing mundane and routine tasks and allowing employees to really think creatively and strategically about the broader picture. And meanwhile, employee productivity and happiness are all the more crucial for mid-sized businesses, with finance leaders being no exception. It's important that each staffer have the training and the tools and the guidance they need to excel in their roles. So simply listening to employees by, for example, offering remote work or flexible hours or illustrating a proven commitment to sustainability can also help with retention and employee productivity efforts.
And again, I'm struck by just how important data is for all of those things. And it's perhaps unsurprising that digital transformation remains a high priority. How are mid-sized companies coming along in their digital transformation journeys?
Well, I would say overall progress is being made, but there is still a large percentage of finance leaders in those earlier stages of digital transformation. So companies that we identified as leaders in this research, so higher revenue growth, higher market share growth, et cetera, are further along in their digital transformation journeys, we've found.
And again, as we said, finance clearly has a key role to play in transformation and innovation projects, if only to make sure that they don't just end up as expensive, shiny science experiments. Really transformational projects inevitably touch on many different aspects of the business, and finance can help ensure that the potential benefits are real and viable. New business models typically involve changes to things like new channels such as e-commerce and perhaps subscription or usage pricing or more bundled value-added services, and all that can impact revenue recognition and allocations to solution partners and so on. It gets very complicated very quickly, and finance, of course, is in a position to help. So, Katie, what kinds of technologies have the respondents been turning to in order to help them with their transformation plans?
Well, we found that ERP came in as top, especially by the leaders. In fact, 92% of them have already implemented or plan to implement an ERP solution. These leaders know that they need that single integrated management platform for all of their business systems in order to get a clear view of all their operations and really boost productivity and efficiency. And it was interesting to see the benefits that finance leaders see from ERP. as they differ a little bit from the responses of the overall respondent base. Finance leaders particularly value ERP to make data-driven decisions and also to reduce costs and for spend management, while the overall respondents were more focused on the value in driving efficiency.
I mean, that makes sense. We've already talked about the importance of robust data for finance. And it's something we've seen recently with new approaches to data based on business data fabric. And that's the ability to bring data together across the organization without losing all of the business context of the source. Particularly important for finance with things like currencies and the hierarchies that are built into financial data. And we've seen finance departments doing more to embrace process excellence as a theme, leveraging technologies such as robotic process automation and machine learning to help their staff get away from repetitive tasks and spend more time on the more strategic aspects of finance. And they've been helping the rest of the organization do the same. And of course, better data and more automation means things like more agility.
Yes, they definitely need to react more quickly to economic and market changes, as we had mentioned, such as interest rate hikes, currency fluctuations, and rising costs of skills. It's important that they have all their company's real-time data on hand so they can make very swift and fast decisions for both themselves and for their customers.
And based on the data, do you have any final recommendations for finance leaders in mid-sized organizations?
Well, as we discussed, it's very important to just lean into technology for a single source of truth and to break down all those operation silos. And this will help them respond to market and consumer changes more swiftly. So start with understanding your customers and their needs and develop products and solutions after those conversations and not the other way around. Those are key messages.
Great. Thank you, Katie, for your data and insights.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.
We encourage you to contact your partner to learn about SAP's Cloud ERP solution for mid-sized companies, SAP S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition, which can help your business be ready for whatever comes next. Thank you very much for listening.